Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'll be discussing exactly how I got a 1570 on the SAT. So to begin, for some context, I took the SAT twice. The first time I took it, I got a 1470. I got
a 780 English and a 690 math, and then the second time I took it, which is a few months later, I got
a 1540. So 750 English and 790 math. Reason why my scores already began quite high was because I studied like a lot for the SAT, because
in my country it's really hard to take the SAT. I had to travel just to take the SAT, so I had to make sure I was really prepared both times.
So I have different tips for people at different levels for the essay, for like SAT planning. My biggest tip is, if you haven't started at all, you should definitely download Blue Book. That's the first thing you should do, and take a practice test. Just take one cold turkey. Like, you haven't seen any of them before. Take one and see full length practice test and see how you do. See how your score is. And from there, set a target score, see where your weaknesses are, and then start moving on. The thing for the DSAT, the new digital format, is that there are very few practice tests actually available in Blue Book, so you want to save them. Do the first one cold turkey, but then don't do any more. Don't keep doing them. Now you have to start creating a schedule and an action plan so you can actually reach your target score. And I'm going to be explaining some different methods that you can use to do this. The chances are that a lot of the content that is on the SAT is math you've already seen before, and this is important because you can check the syllabus for the SAT. If I were you, one of my best resources was Khan Academy. I saw, like, from the breakdown of all the topics, exactly what I needed to know and in what format I needed to know. And they also give you example questions, which is really great. Don't waste money on like courses. Instead, keep that money and use that to give yourselves as many chances as you can to take the SAT, because again, you will need to take it a few times. Resources for preparing for the SAT in general, for both math and English, was Khan Academy, because you can literally see how the topics are broken down and topic specific questions, and this like allows you to identify exactly what subsets within each topic that you are struggling with, and this allows you to like properly prepare. It helps you guide your revision, which is really important in creating a good study schedule that you will actually stick to, so you can actually improve your SAT score. Because I promise you, if you try hard enough and you put in the work, you can improve your SAT score. And now I'll be moving on to how exactly you can do that for both the English and the math sections. Okay, I'll begin with the math, because if you watch any part of this video, this is the part you should watch, because the math section of the SAT, easiest score booster, and it's easily the easiest thing that requires the least amount of effort that can significantly boost your SAT. I have different tips again for different ranges of math scores that you're starting with. Again, take the SAT, the practice SAT on the Blue Book first before you take any of my advice. But if on the first score you're scoring below 700, then you have holes in your content. You don't know all the content of the SAT. And the best way you can do that, again, is look at Khan Academy, look at the specific topic breakdowns, and see what parts you know and which parts you don't. And first, focus on like closing these knowledge gaps that you have. And that is really important, because if you can't expect to score high on the SAT math if you don't know everything that's being covered. So make sure you look at everything, you learn new content. You can use YouTube videos to learn these concepts. You can do whatever. There are many different ways. Khan Academy has its own explanations, its own solved question banks. And then when you think you've gotten the topic, go to the SAT question bank, which is so useful. Look for topic specific questions on the topic you just learned, practice them, and then it will significantly help you into improving your SAT score. There's so many resources. If you're watching this video, that means you have access to YouTube, and that means you can search up like any topic of the SAT on YouTube and you'll find like hundreds of videos about it. So do that, and I guarantee you your score will improve. If you put in the work, you can do it. Also, this is a kind of an important tip. Don't use the practice tests for math. Do not use them. Wait until you have like significant progress in both the English, which I'll be talking about later, and the math section before you take any more practice tests, because you want to save them as much as possible. Because if you run out of them, you have no more, official resources that you can do to practice the whole SAT format. Okay, but what if you're already above the 700 mark and you want to get to that 800, 790 range, top scores? My advice was, since the first time I took the SAT, I got a 690. I knew a lot of the content, I just didn't practice applying it in the hardest situations I could. And if you want to guarantee yourself like a top score, it means you have to be prepared for the hardest question to show up. So my best advice to you, and this is exactly what I did to get my score to a 790, was that I searched online hardest SAT math question. This is super important. You can search this on YouTube, you can search this on Google, search top hardest SAT questions ever. You search them up and then you do them, every single one. They will all be standard SAT content, like the knowledge you should know if you're above a 700 already. But it kind of twists the way which makes it harder for you to apply this knowledge. And maybe a little bit of extra work, but I really recommend this. It really helped me. Is get a little notebook. Every type of question you see come up that's hard and requires like a certain way of thinking to get that question correct, I recommend you to, when you're done, you write down exactly like your process while you did it. And that helps you remember next time you see a question put in a similar way, your brain will remember, oh wait, I've solved this question before and I know exactly how to use the knowledge that I already have to solve this question. And this just helps you, it makes the whole process a lot faster. One of the hardest things, at least for me, for the SAT was the time constraints, because you have so little time to solve quite a few questions. So the more practice you get at solving these questions, the quicker you can, the better you will do in your SAT. And the more time you'll have to check over other questions in which you may have made like silly mistakes. Also, a very important tip I have is learn how to use Desmos. Desmos is one of the best things that happened to the SAT ever. Like now, you literally have access to an entire graphic calculator during your exam. That is so invaluable. You don't understand. There's so many tutorials on YouTube. The one I used was like the first one you search up. Desmos, you can put like almost any question on the SAT on Desmos. You just need to understand how to use it. It just makes everything so much easier, so much faster, and it's really, really amazing. The first time I took the SAT, I didn't really know about that. Like obviously I knew Desmos was there, but I didn't know that I could apply it to so many different questions. The second time I took the SAT, I knew it and my score improved a lot. So make sure you use it to its full potential. Okay, so now I'm gonna move on to the English section. And I'm gonna be honest, the English section of the SAT is actually hard, and it's kind of hard to improve your score. It's not as like systematic as you can improve your math score. You have to put in a different type of work. The English section is kind of unpredictable, and you should be more prepared to take the SAT again for your English section. Like the first time I took it, I got a 780. The second time I got a 750, and I tried to study harder because I wanted to get like an 800 for the English. And I studied harder for the second time and my score dropped instead of going up. So I recommend you be ready to take it a few times. So a lot of people think the English section on the SAT, like doing well, requires a good like natural English ability. But the thing is, not everyone just has a natural English ability, and these people still do well in their SAT. My biggest advice is to not make excuses for yourself and start reading. I think this is the biggest tip from the English SAT you can have. Like start reading. If you don't read a lot in your day-to-day life, start reading more. Start reading news articles from like good reputable websites. You know, the ones that kind of use hard vocabulary or formal vocabulary, because these are really important for you to learn. And keep a little vocabulary notebook, so you can write down all the words that you see that you don't know what they mean. Write them down, and like this you can learn them. Even though it may seem like a lot of work, which may not directly impact your SAT score, it might, and it doesn't hurt to try. And if anything, it will still help you in your day-to-day life anyway. Also, like reading a lot will help with your reading comprehension skills. And I think the English section, particularly module 2, is really, really, really strict on time. There's so little time. And sometimes you're looking at like this big block of text and you're like, how the hell am I meant to understand this when I have like 40 seconds left on the timer, or when I have like 40 seconds per question? How the hell am I supposed to know to understand? Read this, process it, and then choose the answer. Well, again, this naturally comes more if you start reading more, and like it may not be like 1 week you read a lot and it automatically improves, but focus also on like being mindful when you're reading something, like, and really anything, make it a habit in your mind. When you're reading something, read it and then be like, okay, so what was the message of what I just read? And this really helps you like understand what you're reading, which is so important for your comprehension skills for the SAT. It's really, really, really important. The part of the SAT English that I think is easiest to max out is the SAT grammar section. I think the grammar section, like math, it has actual rules that you can learn. And these, you can learn them and then implement them in your answers. And this is, I think, 20-ish% of your SAT score. And practicing them under time conditions is so important because it kind of makes your brain get used to working in focus mode and understanding what it's reading, the comprehension and stuff, with really limited time. And it really helps with your skills. It helps you pick up the kind of the speed that you need to take your SAT, and it makes you faster at identifying the quick messages of the text. Also, a specific SAT tip I have for the English is that there's this tool in the SAT, you can try it out in Blue Book, which allows you to delete the wrong answers. This is really, really important because with the SAT English, you're already looking at like a lot of information and trying to match it up. Something that you really, really, really think is not correct, eliminate it right straight off the bat so you don't have to think about it and your brain has like more time to focus on other things. Okay, so now I'll be sharing some general SAT tips that I think that can kind of help improve the way you take your SAT. So firstly, and this was especially important to me, I think, I would hide the timer while you're doing it. Because for me, it was something that was just hovering over the SAT and like I kept glancing up, glancing down, glancing up, glancing down at it. It kind of took my focus off what I was doing and it just made me extra stressed. And there's a thing where you can hide it and it's really, really great. And if you're worried the timer runs out and you don't know, the last 5 minutes, it always turns on, it always turns back on. You're not allowed to hide it back in the last 5 minutes. And to be honest, in the last 5 minutes, you should be stressing, but you shouldn't be stressing throughout. And hiding it is something that really helps prevent that. But pace yourself and make sure you work fast. Work as fast as you can. Then, for SAT preparation, I would dedicate scheduled time and focus your revision. So you should work smarter, not harder. Don't waste your time revising for something that you already know. Check where your gaps are, a couple practice tests like periodically to see where you make progress and where you still need to work on, and work only on the things that you're not doing well. Don't spend time going over the whole syllabus, all the content again. Only do focused revision. This is so much better. Also, during the SAT, don't waste time on questions that you actually have to sit down and think of really hard. Don't waste them, skip them or flag them, and later you can come back to them when you have extra time. Because like that, you're just wasting a bunch of time on one question when you could be maximizing your score in other ways through other questions. And my last tip would be, I kind of mentioned it before, but don't make excuses for yourself and put in the work. The SAT may seem hard at first glance, but if you put in the work, you can solve the SAT, you can understand how it works. And this is really, really important. So make sure you don't make any excuses and you put in the work. Don't be discouraged if your first score or your first few scores aren't what you're aiming for, because that's okay. And one of my biggest tips is be prepared to take the SAT a few times. Okay, so that is all for this YouTube video. If you have any specific questions, please let me know in the comments down below and I will answer them all, and I can give you extra information on my resources or whatever else. And good luck to your SAT. I really hope all of your tests go well. And let me know in the comments how much you're getting, what your target score is, and I'd love to help you out. Again, don't overstress. I believe in you and you have got this. So good luck on your next SAT.